Alright guys, so this is the final video of the JavaScript DOM crash course series. In this video what we're going to do is take what we've learned in the last three videos and build an actual project, just a small project with it. So it's pretty much the same interface that we've been working with. I just added a couple things. I added this search form or this filter form up here. I also added these delete buttons on each item. Okay, so if we look at the HTML, you can see that in the header we now have the filter. I split it up into two 6-column divs. Okay, we're using Bootstrap. And then down here I added a button to each list item. Okay, I also added an ID of add form to the form. Now if you want to follow along with me, just click on the link in the description for the Codepen and just grab all of the HTML, put that into an HTML file, and then link a JavaScript file to it. Okay, so I have a file called main.js, which is completely blank. Okay, so this is going to be our starting point. So let's look at this and think about what we want to do. So we want to be able to add an item, type something in and add it. So this is going to take an event, right? We probably want a submit event on this form. So let's go ahead and do that. We know that the form has an ID of add form. So let's create a variable here and we'll call it add form. Actually, we'll just call it form. And we'll set it to document.getElementById. And we know that it has an ID of add form. All right, so now that we have that, let's also put the item list, the UL here, into a variable. So we know that that has an ID of items, right? UL ID items. So we'll say var, we'll call it item list, and we'll set it to document.getElementById. And of course you could use query selector if you want. However you want to select it is fine. All right, so we have these two things in variables. So now what we want to do is we want the form submit event. So we're going to take the form variable. We're going to add an event listener. We want to say add event listener, and we want to listen for a submit event. Okay. So once that gets fired off, we're going to call a function called add item. All right. So let's go ahead and create that. So we'll say function add item. All right, we're going to pass in our event parameter here, our event object. And remember, when we submit a form, we have to stop the prevent behavior, or the initial behavior. We have to prevent it. So we have to say prevent default in order for that to not happen, in order for the normal submission of the form to not happen. All right, so let's just test this out by just saying console.log, and we'll just say one. We'll just say 1. All right, so we go over here and we open up our console and submit, and we get 1. Good. So what do we want to do now? We want to basically get the value of this input. So what we'll do is, let's get rid of this. Let's say get input value. And we're going to create a variable for this. We'll call it new item, and we'll set it to we'll set it to document.getElementById, and we should have an ID on the input. Let's hope so. Let's see, where is it? Okay, so the input does not have an ID, so I'm just going to add one. I didn't want to have to do that, but okay, we'll just add an ID of item. All right, so that way we can grab it by ID item. Now I could have just used like a query selector and said input type text or something like that, but what if we add another text box above it? It's going to grab the wrong thing. So I want to be very specific here. Now, once we have this, what we want to do is we want to create a new LI. We want to create a new one of these and add it in with that text. So remember the create element method? We're going to be using that. So let's say create new LI element. And we're going to say var li, set it to document.createElement. And we're going to create an LI. All right. let's also add a class name to it. Because if we look at the list item here, let's look at one of these, it has a class of list group item, so that's what we want to add. So we'll say li dot class name equals list group item. All right, and we can go ahead and check it out by just saying console log li, and let's just submit, and we get a li with a class of list group item. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to append the text, which is going to be the text that comes from the form. All right, so let's put a comment here, and we'll say add text node with input value. So we'll say li, and we're going to append child, and then we want to use document dot create text node. And the text node we want to create is not something that we want to, type in here. It's going to be the variable new item. Okay, whatever came from the form, that's going to be the text. Okay, now we could have put this in its own variable, this document.create text node, and then put the variable in here, but it would just be another extra line of code. So, all right, so let's go down here now, and let's say we want to take the item list, okay, which is the UL, and we want to append child. Okay, we want to append child, and we want to pass in li, which is the element we just created. So let's go ahead and save, and let's type something in here and submit. Let's see, what did I do wrong here? Object HTML input element. Oh, I didn't get the value. When we get the input value here, this is just getting the actual item input. We want the value, so dot value. All right, so let's say hello and enter, and there we go. It's getting added. Now notice something is wrong with this. There's no delete button. Okay, that's something else that we're going to have to add in. So what we're going to do is go right in here, and we want to create. The delete button element. All right, so again, let's just say var button. Yeah, I guess we'll call it button, and we'll say equals document dot create element. Okay, we're creating a button. Actually, let's call this delete. Var delete equals, the heck? What's this error? Variable declaration expected, var delete. Okay, can I not call it delete? Let's call it delete button. All right, so we have our delete button. Now let's go ahead and add the classes we need, because if we look at the delete button itself, it has button or BTN, button danger, button small, float right, and delete. So we need to add all of those. So let's go ahead and say add classes to delete button. We can do that with delete BTN dot class name equals BTN, BTN danger, BTN SM, float right. Remember, it has to be exact. It has to be just like the rest of them. So it has to have all these classes, or it's not going to look right. And then we need the text node. Okay, so we're going to say we're going to take that button or that delete button, and we're going to say dot append child, and we're going to create a text node. So document dot create text node, and it's just going to be an X. Okay, that's all that's in the button. All right, so now that we have that, we actually want to append the button to the li, right? Because the button is inside of the li. So let's take the li, let's say append child, and let's pass in delete button. All right, and then here we'll say append li to list. All right, so let's go ahead and save. Let's type something in, hello, enter, and there we go. So now we have our text and we have our button. So that part is done. We can now add items. So what about removing items? So what we have to do here is we're going to take the item list and add an event listener to it. All right, so let's say we'll just say delete event. So we'll say item list dot add event listener. Okay, we want to listen for a click, and then we're going to call remove item. Okay, function called remove item. So let's go create that. So function remove item. So let's see, we're going to pass in our E object here, event object. Now, I just want to show you something. So if we say console.log 1, and we go and we click on any of these elements here, we're going to get that event, that function fires off, right? And we're console logging 1. Well, what we want to happen is we only want this to happen if we click the button here, okay? Not the actual element. I mean, if you wanted that functionality, you could, but I want to be able to just click the button. So what we need to do here is we need to put in an if statement. And we need to say if e.target.classList, okay, dot contains, we want to say dot contains the class delete, okay, because remember those buttons have a class of delete. So we want to check to see if what we're clicking contains the class of delete. If it does, then we want to move on. So we'll say console log 1. And now if I go and I click anywhere here, you'll see we're not logging 1. If I click on the button, it does. It logs 1. So since this has a class of delete, then it's going to keep going. So that's what we want. And then we just want to do a simple confirmation. So we can say if confirm. So we'll have a little confirm box pop up, and it will say, are you sure? Okay, if we click yes, then we're going to create a variable called li, set it to e.target. Let's use parent element. All right. So basically, what we're clicking is the button, right? So that's what we're talking about right here. And we want the parent element, which is the li. Okay, hopefully you can understand that. But that's why we're using parent element, because we're clicking on the button. We want the parent li. And then what we want to do is just remove the child of the item list. So the item list is the ul. Okay, so we're going to say item list, and then we want to use dot remove child, and then pass in the li. Okay, because the li is a child of the item list, which is the ul. So let's go ahead and save that, and let's go ahead and delete item 3. Are you sure? Okay, and now item 3 is gone. Okay, so we can just delete these. If we reload, they're going to come back because it's not persisting anywhere, but that's fine. If we add something here, we can keep adding stuff, and we can just delete the stuff we add as well. All right, so we can now add and delete items. So the last thing I want to do is I want to be able to filter these items. So this input up here, where is it? It has an ID of filter. So let's go ahead and create a variable for that. Up at the top here, we'll say var filter document dot get element by ID filter, and then we're going to create an event here. So let's say we'll say filter dot add event listener. Okay, we're going to listen for a key up event, and then we're going to call filter items. Okay, let's go down here. Let's say function filter items. And let's see what we're going to do. So first we want to get the filter text that's being typed in, right? And I want to convert it to lowercase because we don't want to match uppercase with lowercase, so we just want to make sure everything is converted to lowercase. So let's say convert. So we'll say var text equals e dot target dot value dot, okay, that's going to get whatever we type in, but we're also going to add on 2 lowercase like that. Actually, that should be an uppercase C. All right, and just to test it out, we can say console log text, and let's see. Oh, I didn't pass in E right here. All right, so even if I put in uppercase stuff, you'll see that it gets converted to lowercase. All right, so now that we have the text that's going in, let's go ahead and let's grab all the LIs within the item list. Okay, so we have the variable item list. So let's use that. And then we're going to do a get elements by tag name. And we want to get all the LIs within the item list. All right. Oh, we want to put this in a variable. So let's say var items equals that. All right. And now what we want to do is we need to turn this collection into an array. Okay, because there's certain things you can't do with an HTML collection. If we were to console.log items, what am I doing? Oh, up here. Okay, so if we look at what we're getting here, it's an HTML collection. We need to convert it to an array. So we can do that by saying array.from, pass in the collection, which is items, and then we want to say dot for each. We want to loop through them. So for each, and then we're going to run a function. All right, and we'll pass in here item. That's our identifier. And then we're going to create a variable called item name, and we'll set this equal to item dot first child. Okay, remember first child, and then we want the text content. Okay, so that'll give us the item name. And let's go ahead and console.log this. Okay, so if we console log, now we're getting item 1, 2, 3. Every time I type, it's just going to give us all, item 1 through 4. So we're getting the item name. Now what we want to do is we want to basically compare to see if what we type in here is equal to anything that's down here that's in this item name. We basically want to compare the item name to the search box text. So we're going to say if item name dot to lowercase, because remember, since we converted the filter to lowercase, we want to convert these to lowercase as well so we can match them. So item name dot to lowercase, and then we want to use dot index of, and then pass in text. Okay, so we're basically matching it. We want to say if it's not equal to -1, because if it's not a match, then it's going to equal -1. All right, so if this is true, then what do we want to do? We want to display, okay, if it's not equal to -1, that means that it's a match. Okay, so this is matching whatever iteration it's on. So we want to set the item dot style dot display equal to block, because we want it to show. All right, else then we don't want it to show, so we'll say item dot style dot display is going to be equal to none. We want to hide it. All right, so let's save it and let's put in a D. You'll see everything goes away because it's not matching anything, so it's being set to none. Okay, the display style is being set to none. All right, if we go ahead and I put in an I, you'll see that they all match that, whether it's lowercase or uppercase, because we want that, we did that to lowercase. All right, so if we say ITEM, that matches everything. I do a space, that matches. If I do a 3, everything else disappears except for item 3. So we can now filter through these items. Item 1, 2. All right, if I go ahead and I add something in here, we'll say hello. And if I go up here, and you can see I can filter that out. All right, so we've built a very simple interface using just vanilla JavaScript. Now, if you wanted to take this a step further, which we may do in another video, you could add local storage so that your items actually get saved. So if you submit something, it gets saved in the browser in local storage. That way, if you reload the page or if you leave and come back, it's still there. And then you can delete them and have those update local storage as well. All right, so that may be a project for another time, but I want to keep this series just strictly working with, just vanilla JavaScript and the DOM. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys learned something from this course. I know that a couple of these videos were really fast and kind of messy, but hopefully the knowledge helped you a little bit. All right, so thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.